is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. The Super Bowl is over, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, and it is Tom Brady's 7th Super Bowl win. Absolutely, it's not even fathomable that someone could win 7. He has the most of any person or any franchise in the NFL. Like, unreal. We're witnessing literally history being made right in front of our eyes. He took down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It was a tough one to watch. Patrick Mahomes did all he could to try and muster up a win, but that O-line was the huge problem. They had 2 people out from that O-line, and it was just a glaring problem as Jason Pierre-Paul and a bunch of other people, Shaq Barrett, just had their way with them. And the Chiefs ended up not scoring a single touchdown. They had 9 points, 3 field goals. It was just kind of, it didn't really live up to the hype, but it felt like it did in a way because Tom Brady won his 7th. We were witnessing history. But I wanted to say first, before we get into our initial thoughts, thank you to everyone who joined us for our Super Bowl Sunday live show. There was about 200 and something people that ended up joining in total. So I wanted to thank everyone, even if you came for even just 10 seconds to come in and share a like or something. We had fun. We gave away some gifts. We gave away some stickers. And we really had a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do a lot more lives in the future. But regardless of that, we're going to get into our initial thoughts to the Super Bowl. And then I asked the fans over on TikTok their thoughts on the Super Bowl. So we're going to get nearly everybody's. There was 100 and something comments. I did not expect that. So I'm going to try my absolute best to try and get to every comment. But before we do that, let's get the guys' initial thoughts, starting with John. John, you picked the Bucs in the end to win it all. And you said exactly what was going to happen. That O-line, the Bucs rushing only 4 guys, getting pressure. What you thought exactly happened in the Super Bowl. Just give us your opinion on what happened.
Yeah, well, the first thing I have to say is I'm glad that I don't have to give up my favorite 10 foods or delete my favorite social media account because I'm glad I didn't go to this game. We all thought it was going to be legendary, and it was, but it just wasn't a great game to, be there. It wasn't like, I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, I wish I was there because it was close. It
Yeah.
wasn't that close. And it was funny. We talked about it last week on the podcast. We talked about it during the live. I posed the question to you guys. I'm like, are you guys worried about the Chiefs' offensive line? Like I said it on the live. I was like, Eric Fisher, their left tackle, is out. Mitchell Schwartz, their right tackle, is out. They had to switch guys from guard to tackle, bring in new guys that never played an NFL game before, and nobody seemed to really care. Like everybody was still picking the Chiefs. Everybody thought that Mahomes, could scramble away from it, and he did. But it was a record number of pressures on a quarterback. No quarterback has ever been pressured that many times in a single game. And credit to Mahomes. I really love how he played. He left it all out on the field. But a lot of people are going to talk about the referees and the calls they made. And I urge people not to listen to those people that say it was the ref's fault because it really wasn't. Because there were a couple calls, the Mike Evans call, I thought that the one down the sideline, it was maybe uncatchable. There were maybe one other call that I didn't agree with, but the Chiefs did not deserve to win this game. The Bucs outplayed them clearly. Not even Mahomes was the only player that played well on the Chiefs. The Chiefs defensive line, I told you that one key to the game was the Chiefs defensive line get pressure on Brady. They sacked him once. Every time Brady dropped back, he basically didn't have to move, didn't have to scramble, didn't have to throw it away. So they didn't really put pressure on him. And then you go to the they didn't put pressure on him. And then, Gronk had 2 touchdowns. And it was just nobody on the Chiefs played really well. The punter had a horrible game. Did you see how nervous he was? He dropped the ball, punted it like 23 yards, and then a ball hit Tyreek Hill in the face, hit Kelsey in the hands and dropped it, hit Darrell Williams in the face. it was just a whole complete disaster for the Chiefs. So it wasn't the refs' fault. So please don't listen to anybody who says it was all the refs' fault. And that's my initial thoughts, but I'm excited to hear about the comments on TikTok and give some more thoughts.
Jonathan, I feel like you have to go after that one. I feel like you have to go.
Yeah, sure. So I completely, I agree with what John was saying in terms of the offensive line struggling on the Chiefs. That definitely played a role in the Bucks dominating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But I must say, the most important reason why the Chiefs lost is simply because of the refs.
Oh my God.
The ref, Carl Sheffers, that's his name.
You
He's
found
the-
his name?
What did
Yeah.
you stalk him or something?
Yeah, he was the head of the officiating crew on Sunday, and he's officiated quite a few Chiefs games in the past. I think he officiated like an AFC Championship game a couple years ago. Pittsburgh ended up getting a 2-point conversion, and then moving on to the championship or something. And like it was a controversial call, because the offensive line was holding or something. So he's had a history with the Chiefs. They know him really well. But I must say, it was really a disappointing performance by the officiating crew. Sports is a game of momentum. Football is a game of momentum. So once things start going the Bucks' way, then it's tough to come back from that. And you saw in the very beginning of the game, the Bucks were dominating. They scored first and everything, and they were about to score again. Then Tyrann Mathieu got an interception, right? And so that completely shifted the momentum. And then all of a sudden, you see a flag. What was the flag for? Somebody like way over there was holding the receiver just a little bit. Okay, who calls that? Are you kidding me? On a crucial play that would change the game. That was the game. Believe me, if Tyrann Mathieu, if that interception was allowed, Chiefs would have scored. That would have changed the game. They would have got more confidence. But because the refs were not being smart, they just called a random flag on somebody way over there that was holding receiver. The Bucks ended up scoring on that drive. So the momentum was still on Bucks side. That gave the Bucks bigger confidence. And once you get Tom Brady going, then it's kind of hard to stop. Once you give him confidence, then it's hard to stop him. And that's what happened. He got confidence early. They were up like 21-6. It's kind of hard to stop him. So that was a flag. What is it? Mike Evans. Remember that pass? Tom Brady was, I think he threw it far to Mike Evans towards the end of the second half, and I think he tripped. They both got tangled up. He didn't do anything. You see what I'm saying? And the refs, they didn't even review it. They just called a flag. That set him up to score. So a lot of those one-off plays, that kind of shifted the game, because the NFL, football in general, is a sport of momentum. Once things start going your way, then, it just keeps on coming right after each other, And so that first half really, that's where the Chiefs lost. The second half, you saw Mahomes in the second half on the bench. Like he knew what was about to happen. He's like, all right, it's going to be tough to come from this. Tom Brady's too good to allow a team to come back that much. But I must say, let me just say this one thing. People are giving Tom Brady credit. He deserves it. He's probably the greatest of all time, probably.
What?
But let's not forget something, folks. The defense should, they should have got the MVP. They played so well.
No, they didn't play. They didn't play that well. It was the offensive line, and people
so well. The
what do you
defense played so
mean?
well.
You mean Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill got hit in the face. Darrell Williams got hit in the face. Kelsey dropped.
Yeah, but there were two,
and that's all
defensive
defense
backs on
playing
him.
well.
But there wasn't like just one person on him. There's like two backs around him.
Yeah, but neither of them could get a hand on it. They still let it get to Hill's face.
And but we don't see it, but Patrick Mahomes has a strong arm, right? So he was throwing it, but he was giving it his all. That's kind of those hard passes are kind of tough to catch. So I don't give the receivers too much blame, even though they're professionals. It touches your hands, so you kind of have to catch it. All I'm saying is it's harder than it looks, and there are like a couple cornerbacks and defensive backs around him, so it was kind of a tough position. I think the defensive schemes and the defense in general played a really good game. And, people are giving Tom Brady credit. He got the MVP, but really this whole playoffs, the defense has been the talk of the team. And people just focus on Tom Brady. Let's make something clear. Jake, if you're listening, I know you're going to be listening to this podcast. Tom Brady didn't necessarily beat Patrick Mahomes.
What?
He didn't necessarily beat him. If you give Patrick Mahomes that Bucs defense, they would have won.
What?
Let's not.
No.
Higher than he is.
If you traded offensive lines, okay, then I'd say the Chiefs would probably win. It was the offensive line. I can't stress enough how much, and it's not because the offensive line, like I'm not saying they just suck, but there were guys that got put in there that have never played an NFL game, and now they're starting in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, towards the end, the offensive line looked bad. Towards the end, you know why? They knew they were about to lose, and
Towards
all these
the end,
you see
whole
Sue, all these
game.
guys coming at you. They're like, dang. I mean, we're about to lose anyway. Like, just let them go. You see what I'm saying? So towards the end, they started like the offensive line was just
oh my,
terrible as the game went along. Initially, they're putting up a fight, but it was kind of depressing. The officiating crew could just come up throwing flags. They kind of screwed up the game for them. Honestly, the refs screwed up this game. It should have been much more exciting. It should have been much more exciting. That's why I'm so upset. I'm not necessarily upset that the Chiefs lost, but I'm upset that the refs didn't just let them play. Because all these flags get called in the regular season and maybe some in some moments of the playoffs and everything. But once the big game comes along, you just gotta sit back and let them play. You can't call these stupid little flags when a cornerback is barely holding a receiver way over there. The entire match to intercepts it. That doesn't make any sense. I was like, what? Why would you call that?
That one was stupid. I even looked at that and I'm like, what the heck? Like, that was dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Super Bowl. Everybody came to watch this. Why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. So, this officiating crew, I know they're going to continue to be criticized for this, but this is really sad. It's really sad. I mean, major respect to Tom Brady. You got to respect him for winning this. But if you really look at all his Super Bowls, I mean, he's done well. But, he has... Let's not act like he's been on the Browns his whole career. Okay? He's had some good players around him. He's had Bill Belichick, great coach, right? And he sort of formed a super team with his Bucs team. Fournette, Ronald Jones, pretty good players. You have Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Scott Miller's. Okay, he turned him into a pretty good player. We'll give him that. Godwin was already there. So come on. I mean, I respect Tom Brady, but I guess you could say he's good at putting a team together, but let's be honest. He had a great talent around him. It's easy to win another Super Bowl if you have great talent around you.
No, it's not easy because Jameis Winston couldn't even get to 500 with that team. So yeah, it's not easy.
But if I'm saying, like, when people compare Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady, this situation is not apples to apples, because Patrick Mahomes will miss on his lineman. Patrick Mahomes' defense isn't as good as the Bucs. So you can't say Tom Brady's better than Patrick Mahomes now. I'm just saying all this stuff. People are like, you can't say Patrick Mahomes is the greatest of all time. Wait, that has nothing to do with this. It's a team game. Tom Brady's team was a lot better than Patrick Mahomes' team. Let's not necessarily say Tom Brady is better than Patrick Mahomes because he won another Super Bowl. Because his whole career, he's been on really talented teams with great coaches, so.
I think you have an argument there, but we'll talk about that when we go through the comments.
All right, I'll give my 2 cents. It won't be super long. I did have the Bucs winning, although I wanted the Chiefs to win. It's like I hate the idea of Tom Brady. Every time I see him in an interview or giving life advice, I find him, he has some good thoughts. He has his dad as his hero. I saw him on Nickelodeon. Well, not that I was watching Nickelodeon, but I saw he did something for the kids, and I was like, hey, that's cool. Let's say Mahomes didn't, but the idea that when a player's that good and that successful, you just hate the idea of them, and that's part of me. I found that hatred is less when he's not on the Patriots. Part of that was the success of the franchise of the Patriots. Now that he's gone, well, it's like, hey, I know what, as an Eagles fan, I know what it feels like to go have your hopes held high and then go shot down and things like that. So I was like, okay, for the Bucs, fine. For Brady getting his 7th, it's like, my takeaway from the game was that overall, I think the Buccaneers, at the beginning of the season, I had said that I worried that it'd be too many good players in one place could, too many chefs can spoil the pot, that they're not going to click and that they're just the chemistry and there's too many ego. Kind of like I compare it a lot to the Browns when they started to amass a lot of players, right? And I think in the beginning of the season, you saw that a lot of the gears weren't turning the way they would. But even with the COVID protocols, even with they couldn't eat together, couldn't have normal team meetings and things like that, they ended up building enough chemistry and enough momentum together that they clicked. And on the Super Bowl, it showed. They were the more disciplined team, and it's very uncharacteristic was the word Andy Reid used, that the Chiefs played. They usually are more disciplined. They just had. I do say, like, in every game, any game this level, there's always a call that you question that could have affected the outcome, and that's to the speculation. The same thing happened with the Packers game. But at that point, it's like when you look at the whole, the Buccaneers were more disciplined and the Chiefs weren't. I mean, the Chiefs are making it's like if you reviewed every penalty, there are some big ones that turn the tide, that change momentum, sure. But there are enough little ones there that by themselves, it's like, what are they doing? They shouldn't have these kind of holding penalties, these dumb late hits, things like that. And you saw them getting rowdy, which is going to happen on the world stage. But the Chiefs, and then that kind of uncharacteristic play led to the receivers. I mean, Mahomes was under a lot of pressure, and you got to consider that he got surgery, I think, today on his toe, or yesterday on his toe. So he was playing on a toe that needed surgery. I think he tore his ligament in his toe. And so that's something to consider, but still he played. And what I want to give credit to him is that him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire were, like, I think the two players who played the best in the Chiefs offense. Whereas Mahomes was throwing dots and dimes to Kelsey, to Hill, like to all those players you mentioned, John, and it was hitting them right in the hands and the face, and they were dropping them. They weren't catching it. And it's like, it's not that Mahomes didn't play super well, but he played well enough, better than his stats showed, that you give him credit. There were some plays where he's scrambling 30 yards back, throws it deep, and I thought, like, on a prayer, and yet it's a dime to, like, the perfect spot where it doesn't get intercepted, and this receiver just doesn't catch it, just bounces off his face. So I think you got to look at, that some controversy always happens, right? But to win it 7 times at this level, I mean, the next closest is 4 as a quarterback, I think. That's insane. And I think we got to really evaluate a few things in a quarterback. And one is having an offensive line. We saw losing one guy in the Packers kind of decimated that, not decimated, but the Packers lost their left tackle, and Rodgers was under pressure. Chiefs lose Fisher, and they're under pressure immensely. And so whatever you say about Brady, he knows that it is a team game, and he picks teams that have great offensive lines and amazing defenses. And I mentioned that the Patriots have a team. The Patriots, the Patriots had a great offensive line, but the Buccaneers have what I consider what could be a young Legion of Boom. And I think you saw that show up against the Chiefs trying to return for a championship. And it's, in a way, no one expected it, but at the same time, we kind of did, because Brady wins another one. So we'll talk more in the comments. But those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, my first reactions right after the Super Bowl ended, there were like a couple things. One, offensive line was horrendous, and I think we should emphasize that the coaches knew these two guys were going to be out for about a week, so I don't know why they didn't game plan any screen passes. You know what? They started doing delayed run plays in the second half. That was working a lot because the Bucs were blitzing. They're using the delayed run. I think they should have planned more quick passes with Mahomes to get the ball out of his hands.
Good point. More
screens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think from that point, the coaches, it's got to be on them. Mahomes played a great game. Like, I know his stats sucked, but the man ran nearly 500 yards around the field and was able to put the ball right on the helmets, right on the hands. Like, those 2 plays in the red zone, one where he like twirled twice and chucked it up in the corner of the end zone. I'm like, this guy's a magician. And then he throws it. His full body's laid out, and he just uses his arms to throw it, and it's right on his face. Like, Brady's the GOAT probably for a long, long, long time. But I don't think, and this is including Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, I've never seen anyone who is so accurate and his arm is so strong. He can throw it anywhere on the field, no matter what freaking position he's in. I mean, that throw when he threw in the back left corner of the end zone, Like he twirled 2 times. So it was like if he just spun him around 2 times and then told him to throw to a running receiver in the back of the end zone, and he literally like hit the back pylon. Like that is incredible. So, our friend Abood, as we all know from college, Abood texted me and he's like, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes, your boy, he's losing in the Super Bowl or whatever." And I was like, even though he lost, and the separation between Super Bowls is a lot now, I think even in only his 3rd year, that Mahomes is probably the most talented physically that we've ever seen at the quarterback position.
Of course.
Like it's just unreal what he did, and it just added to it when he's running for his life with no offensive line help. But to get to the Bucks, I think the Bucks throughout this playoffs just dominated every aspect of the game. Their only struggle really was the second half of the Packers game, where the Packers started to come back and Brady threw those interceptions, but they held the lead and they got the win in the end. So that was the only time they really struggled in the playoffs. I mean, Tom Brady, we can't, take for granted that playing playing average as a quarterback, like not making mistakes, that can't be like taken for granted. Like you can't just be like, oh, he played average. Anyone could have done that, because not many quarterbacks can do that. We've seen Aaron Rodgers fall that. We've seen Big Ben this year to the Browns not play average. Like it's not something where any quarterback can come in and do. Tom Brady's mindset in the playoffs is just completely different, and it's right now it's unmatched to anybody in the league. So, congrats to the Bucks for winning the Super Bowl. And one other thing before we get into the comments is that we got to remember the Bucks were like the worst playoff team in like this decade, in like the last 2 decades. And he went to that team and in the first year got it done. That's
I heard
incredible.
something. I heard something that the Buccaneers, and I didn't check this to make sure it was true, but I heard that the Buccaneers were statistically, in terms of winning percentage, the worst franchise in all of sports.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're now they're world champs.
It's
Now
really
I don't know
insane.
I don't know if that's true. I know they haven't been good until they won the Super Bowl in 2003 or 2, but I don't know if that's 100% true, but I could believe it. And that is
they,
crazy.
they weren't good for a long time. We know that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, again, they did get a lot of acquisitions this offseason. It wasn't just Brady. They got a lot of acquisitions.
but
Let's
like
make sure that
you were saying with the defense, that's relatively the same. They got like 2
Yeah,
guys.
the defense didn't improve that much in terms of
They got that
personnel. Like,
rookie, the safety, right?
Winfield.
yeah,
Yep.
they got Winfield, but that was it. Like, I wouldn't say like their defense really improved.
The run game, though, we talked about that run game becoming a bigger factor, and Fournette and
It's
Jones tore it up.
clutch.
I mean, we knew. I mean, and we also saw. I mentioned that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was like the only other, in my eyes, not the only, but like of the biggest that come to mind right away. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was running well against the #1 rush defense, but I think in the moment, in hindsight, the Chiefs should have ran it more because it was kind of working, and it would have taken off some of the pressure from that blitz. But at the same time, the in the first half, they rarely ran the ball against, because it's like, why keep trying to force it? But then again, it's like you want to play a game the way you want to play it, and you couldn't see it. I think at the end of the day, the Bucks were calling a better game. We talked about the coaching playing a factor into this, and overall, I mean, look at it, what Arians, the kind of culture he's built with, and the collaborations with Brady he has, as well as the coordinators he has on defense and on offense, were able to shut down the Chiefs. And it's crazy to think too. I mean, I hate the idea of Tom Brady. I've never met him. I don't know. But it's crazy to think the narrative of he's gone through Jared Goff, Patrick Mahomes, and then on the way to this one, he went through Breeze with a renewed Saints team. They were all healthy coming back, so everyone thought, oh, maybe they're going to lose for the 3rd time. Then with the Packers as well. And Aaron Rodgers coming with a hot Packers team. So it's like, I think there are a lot of factors that contribute to success, and yet there's a constant baseline of Brady being there. and you can't deny that it's an anomaly that happened 7 times. I mean, I'm saying I'm a super fan, but it is history to watch him winning 7th.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
the only thing the only thing I can fault Mahomes for and we're losing that is not being from the NFC East. That clearly, I think that would have helped him.
I
Yes.
know.
Somehow, that's the only ingredient we know that beats Brady.
Exactly. You have to be from the NFC East. You have
And you
to.
have to have a decent defense.
And we won't see that happen, right? At least in the Super Bowl. We only know for sure in a Super Bowl setting. If an NFC East team can make it to the Super Bowl against a
Don't
Brady
count
team,
out the Giants next year.
well, I mean, like because they're both in the NFC, they
Well,
won't be able to.
what if Nick Foles goes to the Colts?
Ooh,
No, it won't
I
happen.
think it's
Nick Foles is going back to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Stop. Let's go to the questions.
All right. So only, we've gotten our opinions out, but I chose to go to TikTok and see what the fans thought. See what the fans thought about the Super Bowl. Let them vent in the comments. And that's what we have here. We have 120 comments. Insane.
Okay.
But
Let's see
with
how many
that
we can go
TikTok
through.
post, I put this question. Does this loss hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy? Now, there were a total of about 700 votes. And with 63% of the vote, they said no, it doesn't hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy. And then 37% said yes, it does. Before we get into some of these comments, just a quick 1 minute or just answer yes or no. John, Caleb, Jonathan, do you think this loss hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy, or is he fine since it's in his third year? John?
I said no to this poll. I mean, he's in his third year, like you said. Like Mahomes can still be the GOAT. He could still the thing is that he doesn't need to necessarily get to 8 Super Bowl rings to be the GOAT. If he breaks all these touchdown records and keeps throwing like he does and making miraculous plays, he can get 4 or 5 Super Bowl rings and still be in that conversation for the GOAT. Like 3 years ago or 4 years ago when Brady had 4 rings and Peyton Manning had 2, people were having that debate. Is Peyton Manning the GOAT or is Brady the GOAT? Because Peyton's better. Peyton's went to 2 different teams and he throws more touchdowns in the regular season. So Mahomes just needs to get 4 or 5 more, probably 4 more Super Bowls, which is possible for him. So it's still early in his career, and it's too early to say if this will hurt his legacy.
Caleb?
I actually answered, did this loss hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy? I answered yes. And I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. I really want him to succeed, but I was really thinking hard about it because, again, I'm not I don't know. Tom Brady is Tom Brady, right? But I was really thinking that if any quarterback's ever going to rival that kind of number, there's a few things I think I have to see. One, and probably the hardest one, is a quarterback with a talent level of or similar of of a Rodgers, of a Watson, of a Mahomes, of a Wilson, take a pay cut. Not get a max contract and take a pay cut, which is what Brady did for years at the Patriots. And part of that he's talked about being married to a supermodel and who has her own business and things like that. I believe helps. Being able to. I mean, I don't think they have trouble supporting themselves, but that helps supplemental income. If that's true. But until I see that one happen, 2 is having a right organization and coaching behind you. And I think they got that with the Chiefs if you're talking about Mahomes, but you don't see the payment part isn't there, right? And the third is an O-line and a defense. Like it's kind of in tandem, but we saw how teams like losing like the Packers and Chiefs both lost one piece of the offensive line. You got to get offensive lines that stay healthy the whole season, or at least have a depth at that position, And I think in part you get there by having having a quarterback that's willing to take a pay cut. So there's a lot of, and that's a very big thing to say. It's easy for us as a fans who aren't in a position to reject millions of dollars off of a deal when you think you're worth something. Like we don't know the feeling. I don't know if we all know the feeling, but when you think you're worth something and your boss isn't paying you that, if it hurts your morale. But to be humble and want to pursue greatness in the sport and be willing to do that and still back it up with performance, I just, until I see that, I think it's going to be hard to rival Brady's success. Because I do agree with John. You don't have to win 8 to be officially better than Tom Brady. I think I've said this before. If the question who has the most Super Bowls of any quarterback, it's Tom Brady. If that's the answer. If it's who's the best, you can look at a lot of different options. There's one concrete answer. There's one that's qualitative. I like the example you did with Peyton Manning. So I think it does hurt his legacy because, frankly, Tom Brady's on his 7th. He's had all these factors in 2 different teams now. Can we see that with Mahomes? I don't know. I hope we do. I hope we see that many wins. I think he's a fun. Hope the Eagles win more, But I think it does hurt because that's 2 times in the playoffs that he's at Mahomes. The heir apparent has lost to Brady.
Jonathan?
Yep, for me, yeah, I don't think this hurts his legacy at all. Patrick Mahomes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's the youngest quarterback to win Super Bowl MVP, right, at 24 years old. And so he has a lot ahead of him, like a lot of years ahead of him. Brady's 43, right? So he's been doing this for a while. Patrick Mahomes, I think he's obviously going to be back here again. And this was the first time they faced each other in the Super Bowl, but they've faced each other quite a few times. I think Patrick Mahomes beat Brady twice, and including the Super Bowl. I believe including the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's beat him like twice or 3 times or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think they're about even in terms of wins and losses. So would be nice if they maybe face each other again next year, and maybe Patrick Mahomes gets another shot. But just from one match, I don't think you can say it hurts his legacy because it was just one match, and again, a lot of things weren't in Patrick Mahomes' favor. Right, he had that toe injury. He had 2 offensive linemen tackles that sucked, that were backups. His defense wasn't that hot, right? And Bucks just had a better defense. So I don't think you can say it hurts Patrick Mahomes' legacy. He's a young guy. He's a lot of years ahead of him. And like Jared said, we haven't seen anything like him. Most talented quarterback we've ever seen in his first few years of playing. So I can't wait to see what else he does ahead. But I think he's gonna, I think he's gonna be able to overtake Tom Brady in terms of being the GOAT, in quotes.
2 quick things I want to add just to that. I think they're 3-2 against each other, with Brady having the lead now after the Super Bowl, because they were 2-2 before, and now they're 3-2. I think that was I forget the other thing I want to add, but I think that's a good point. I think the second thing was he still has a chance. Like if next year they face each other and Mahomes wins the Super Bowl while Brady is still in the league, that we could be looking at a very different picture next year.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said yes, that it does hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy because of the narrative surrounding this Super Bowl was a near prime Patrick Mahomes faces a 42, 43-year-old Tom Brady. Should be, an easy task. And Tom Brady got it done. And Brady isn't even in his prime. So imagine Brady in his prime facing Patrick Mahomes. It wouldn't even be a problem. So I know that it's not just Mahomes versus Brady.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Believe me, it's a team game. That's so much goes into it.
But that was the narrative going in, and that's going to be the narrative coming out of the Super Bowl is Brady beat Mahomes. That is what's always going to be there. So when you're talking, quarterback versus quarterback, they're going to bring up Super Bowls. They're going to bring up wins. And I said it hurts it just based on the fact that if Tom Brady comes back and the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, say there's no rematch, Brady comes back next year, maybe he doesn't win one and he retires. He has 7 Super Bowls. Even if Mahomes gets to say like 4 or 5 and he's got all these records, there is still going to be, Tom Brady did face Mahomes in the playoffs twice. He beat him in the AFC Championship and won a Super Bowl, and then he beat him in the Super Bowl. So how could you say Mahomes is better than Brady, even if he wins, say, 4 Super Bowls, gets all these records? So it's just always going to be there for him if there is no rematch. I really hope there is. That would be crazy next year if it was Bucks Chiefs again. But until then, that's going to be held over his head. It's just how the media works. It's how the GOAT conversations work. But let's get the people's opinion. First
Yeah,
one.
let's
So I'm just gonna run it off. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
run
let's
off like a
go
bunch
through
of names.
quick.
Cash Hodges said this will make Brady the forever GOAT over Patty Mahomes. Forever. Really emphasizing.
giving no shot.
Too
at
soon
all.
to call.
Like, it's just a wrap. He should just retire. If there is no rematch, then it does hurt his legacy. That is CD Bartow. So I also agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Mahomes played DB the Don. Mahomes played a hell of a game. He missed a couple early throws. Other than that, he was making insane throws and looking like the only one trying. So we basically agree with that
Yeah.
he played unreal. Even though his stats sucked, he really did everything he could.
Yeah.
That's why it's a team game.
It's fair.
Mhm.
Everybody has to play well.
Diego, Brady is the undisputed GOAT. That is, I see no lies. Captain, yay. Maybe Mahomes will fall a little bit, but still make the playoffs. So I guess he's referring to next season. Do you think there's going to be any drop off with the Chiefs? Any low morale?
No, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be Chiefs and Bucks in the Super Bowl.
You're already calling it.
Well, Chiefs will be there.
No team can beat either of these teams. Like we've seen it. Yeah, they've gotten close, but you could tell they're both the best teams.
What about your Bills? People were talking about the Bills in the comments.
I wonder.
No, they don't have the coaching. I think their coaches are good, but how they looked stupid when they played the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like come on.
I wonder though. It makes me wonder if it was the Bills Bucks who would win, because after the Chiefs couldn't score a single touchdown, it's just like put anyone else. They gotta.
The Bills would get destroyed.
Yeah.
Josh Allen would get
Oh,
picked.
I think Jonathan would agree with you with that one.
Philly backhand 20. I say yes, because now Mahomes can never be better than Brady unless he does the same thing Brady did to him, which would mean beating him in the Super Bowl and then winning 7, nearly 8 Super Bowls. So yes,
I count beating him in the Super Bowl. I don't know about the 7, but if he beats him, if it is Chiefs Bucks next year, then if it's like whoever gets the last word, then that's gonna help his legacy.
I agree. The rematch is very important. Jonathan, You're gonna like this one. The refs gave Brady a free win, and I'm a Browns fan, not a Chiefs fan. Just because you touch them doesn't mean that it's a penalty. It's football. It's a contact sport. That was from Billy Bob for Joe.
Yeah, exactly. There were so many factors in the game. One of them being the officiating crew. That's my main factor. So
More
it's
than
kind
the
of sad
offensive line?
to people. It's sad to hear all these comments where people think it's gonna hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy. It wasn't his fault. The officiating crew was so terrible. His offensive line was terrible. His defense sucked. You can't just put it on Patrick Mahomes and say his legacy is gonna be ruined. No. I think there's so much factors in those games.
That's a fair angle. He did play well. It's just the narrative if we're talking more legacy, but okay.
Blemmy won. The Chiefs not having their starting O-line lost them the game.
That's the main reason right now.
I would agree as well. Guap Drew. I say no, it doesn't hurt his legacy. He has many more years to prove himself. Nate S84. I think that this means that Mahomes will never be able to pass Brady as the GOAT. And I have no idea what will happen next year. So a lot of people are saying that this is it. Like Brady beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and this is all he had to do.
Yeah.
I think we have to take into consideration like our audience. Our audience is very young, and like what they see is Super Bowls. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think there's more to it. We know there's more to it than Super Bowls. Like I don't know if people remember, but like anybody who's watching that's saying that Mahomes will never be able to beat Brady. But like I said, when Brady had 4 and Peyton had 2, it wasn't like, oh, Brady's the definite GOAT. Like now that he has 7, we're saying he's the definite GOAT. So like you don't have to have the same amount. You pass the eye test and stuff. Like, what was it like last year, 2 years ago? remember that game where it was Brady versus Rodgers, and Brady had five Super Bowl rings, and Rodgers only has what, one or two, and they were matching up, and Michael Jordan put out this like commercial, and he's like, I'm watching this game for
Yeah,
the
I do
Gilmore.
Oh,
remember that.
And it's
yeah.
like one person has five, one person has two, but Brady Rodgers looks like he's better than Brady because he can make these easy throws and everything. So you don't, it's not just the certain number you have to hit, it's about the eye test and command of the field, and there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of factors.
Exactly. It's kind of like Ronaldo and Messi, right? I think Ronaldo has a lot more championships than Messi. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, right? But Messi, we can all tell like he's really talented, right? So it's kind of, it brings that debate like who's the better soccer player, right? And
Right.
so I think it's kind of like that, right?
Yeah, it's like I think Ronaldo has one, it's the international trophy, and Messi's with Argentina. Uh, it's a comparison in the sense that it is all about winning in the rings, but if you're talking about skill, there are tons of players in every sport where it's like, man, at this age they were better. If they hadn't got injured, they could have been better than X. And that's why it's conjecture though. So I think it's fun to compare it. The stats can even show, like you said, with Peyton, with Rodgers, but there's something to be said about the kind of play that Brady has that isn't that flashy, that I think appeals only to the football mind to really understand the game and be like, it doesn't look as pretty as these other guys, but it wins you and gets you to Super Bowls. So you got to give that a little credit.
Mm-hmm. The intangibles that Brady has were really on display this season, going to a whole different team and commanding leadership from those guys. A lot of them young guys, a lot of them some veterans, but he really took leadership in that team and won him a Super Bowl. It's actually crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cancelet, I'm predicting the Chiefs come out all business next year. No more Tyreek Hill backflips or cockiness. We got humbled yesterday, and it will light a fire for Pat. Do you agree?
I hope so. That'd be fun football. If this was a business.
I think they needed to lose, They only lost one game all year. They hadn't really lost like a big game, in a long time. So I think it'll be good for them because they need to take a step back and regroup.
You got to see how he recovers, though, because you saw, Jared Goff made it to the Super Bowl, and now he just got traded from his team, So, not saying it's going to happen to Mahomes, but it's all mentality in the sport.
Yeah, I think I agree with John. I think it's good. It's good for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now Patrick Mahomes is going to be more hungry every single year. He's going to feel like he has something to prove, and because of that, I think he's going to give us his very best every Sunday.
Plus, he has to lose one Super Bowl at least. Like if he goes to the next, if he goes to like 5 Super Bowls, he's probably going to win most of them. So like Brady had to make sure, he wasn't undefeated in the Super Bowl.
Truly Brady. This doesn't hurt Mahomes' legacy. 1, it wasn't his fault they lost. He played his heart out. 2, wins are a team stat, and QBs should be judged by more than just rings.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
It's fun to think of a legacy.
QBRs.
Yeah. Well, stats and things. Yeah.
Did you say QBR?
QBR.
Wait, who has the best QBR ever? Is that Tony Romo?
No. I think it's Rodgers.
I feel like Jonathan has said that multiple times.
I can look it up.
Yeah, fact check that for me.
I think he found that on NFL.com. You can't trust that.
Yeah, it's not a reliable source. Who is it?
I'm trying to find ever.
Yeah, it's
Well,
I think Phillip Rivers for this season had for the postseason he actually had the best QBR.
Like for the whole careers,
yeah, it's hard to
for
find.
the whole careers.
All the best.
It's
well,
Aaron
so far it's Patrick Mahomes. Then after him is Deshaun Watson. Then Aaron Rodgers. Then Russell Wilson. For the whole careers, that's what we're talking about, right?
What?
Oh, is that because they're they just started out?
Yeah, exactly. They just started
last
out.
Years.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Best regular of the seasons. Regular season, the best year ever was Tom Brady, who had 87 in the regular season in 2007. Best postseason QBR was Phillip Rivers this year, believe it or not.
Of course. This one is from Jay's Old. No, it doesn't. He is still really young. He has time to win more.
I don't.
What?
It hurts the legacy. It's
I
just,
think it does.
but he has time to win more. I agree.
Yaza NR9, just a hot take or thought. If you look at Mahomes and Wilson, they have the same first 3 years. First year, lost in the playoffs. Second year, won the Super Bowl. Third year, lost in the Super Bowl. Could Mahomes go down the same path as Russell Wilson with what's sure to be a dynasty fails?
So
I
like,
see what you.
No.
not only that, but they both lost in the playoff, won the Super Bowl, and then their third year lost in the Super Bowl to Brady.
To Tom Brady, yeah.
Oh, to Brady, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a coincidence. You're talking about two different teams. The Seahawks they've always been dependent on their defense. Russell Wilson has been that person that's, been a good game manager, has made incredible plays when his team needed him to, but the defense ran that show. Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman, all those guys.
It is very similar because I do remember when the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl, that when they got to their second and they were nearing it, it felt like a dynasty was like being created. Like that defense was unstoppable. Russell Wilson just coming into his prime. It felt like there was a dynasty being built. And even now with the Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu, Mahomes, everything looks like it's just starting to build this dynasty. And then Brady comes in and just stops it, right? Like two dynasties, he just halts immediately.
And what's crazy to think, that's a great question by Yaza or whatever, shout out. It's interesting because one team was defensive minded. I mean, they have Russell Wilson, but it had a Legion of Boom and Tom Brady. It was a close game. It's going to be one for the ages, but Brady ended up winning that one with the Patriots. And then you see a team like with Mahomes at the helm and a high powered offense, and Brady goes to a different team and still beats it. You know what I mean? So there's one common factor there. I'm not a Brady stan, but after this game, you got to give a lot of credit.
Yeah. True 17. Real MVP is Todd Bowles. Great game plan, shutting down the Chiefs offense, which was the best in the league.
Yeah.
That
was a really great job by him.
Yeah.
Bruh. Moment. Shaq Barrett should have gotten Super Bowl MVP. Agree, disagree?
He did well, but he didn't stand out.
He was great. That's just MVP.
Should it have gone to anybody but Brady?
No.
Yeah, it should have went to the defense. I don't know. Like they should. I don't know. They should make it where it can go to multiple people, because the whole defense, they won them the game. They stopped the best player in the world.
When you kind of look at it, it kind of seemed like Brady did play really well, and it kind of like he deserves it because he's the one that brought this whole team together. So it kind of feels like he got it partly for the Super Bowl and partly for the whole season, bringing everybody together.
And that's really what MVP kind of should mean. I think Bruce Arians said he was the missing piece of that, because they just replace him with Jameis Winston with him, and it looks where it got him.
It shouldn't be just this game. It should be the whole. Who was the MVP of their team? Like, what was the main reason that they got here and won?
Yeah, it should be, but I think it's supposed to be for the game. That's why that 1 year Russell Wilson, he didn't win that MVP the first year they won, right? It was some defensive player.
Some defense,
yeah.
That's how it should be.
Oh
yeah. I mean, it fit the storyline. If NFL, it fit their storyline and everything. So
they did it so nonchalant. They were just like, "You're also the Super Bowl MVP," and they're just so fast. I was like, "Oh, I was expecting Gronk." I thought they were gonna give him the trophy and he was gonna dent it again.
We should have different trophies, because it seems like the biggest trophies in sports always. I mean, because the quarterback is arguably the most important position, so we gotta divide it. The most important player who's not a quarterback, or something in the future.
I heard that Gronk hasn't touched the Lombardi Trophy yet. They're not letting him touch it. Yeah, he's like, I've seen it from afar, but not touched it.
Because of the dent he caught? I thought maybe because of COVID. I was like...
No, because of the dent. They did not let him touch it. Frank Liardo. Only because So I guess he's saying, yes, it does hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy, only because it was a loss to Brady. If he ends up having a GOAT career, people are always going to look back at this to compare. Completely agree with you, Frank.
That's why I said yes.
Completely agree. Everyone, if there is no rematch and Brady retires, it will always be there. It would be if LeBron beat Jordan or Jordan beat LeBron in like the last like battle for them as LeBron's in his prime, Jordan's leaving his
Right.
NBA career. Jordan beats him. Now LeBron literally would have to do 10 times more than what Jordan did to go over. And that's what I think Mahomes has to do. He's got to break all these records and he's probably going to have to get 8 rings. It's like you just can't do it. You can't.
If he wins like 5 or 6 rings and continues to win like MVP every year or something, I think people will look back and start to analyze. All right, let's look at the factors. Even though Tom Brady won, how many pieces did Mahomes have? How many pieces did Brady have? You know, people start to do that analysis. That's if Patrick Mahomes gets near 7 Super Bowls, if he ever does that.
And John, you made a good point. It was your last episode or the episode before that. Travis Kelce, he's getting old as far as tight ends. He's like 32, 33. So you're not going to have Kelce for, another 5 years, maybe 3 years, 4 years. And then Tyreek Hill, you have no idea how long he's going to stay. What if he wants to leave? And now you're trying to look and try and fill some pieces together. How are you going to do that? It's going to be tough.
Exactly. Yeah. Mahomes is 24, 25, and Kelce's the same age as Gronk. And Gronk is looking like he retired and he's looking slow. So it's like, how much longer can Kelce go? 2, 3 years? And Tyreek, he's been around for a while. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Reed pulls the pieces together.
Yeah. And Caleb, you were talking about pay cuts. Mahomes just got this giant freaking deal. So they really don't have the cap room to do much. Jonathan, here's your boy, Jake. Jake says 100% Mahomes can never be the GOAT. Changed my mind. Brady has beaten Rodgers, Breeze, and Mahomes in 1 year. 7 Super Bowls. GOAT from a New York Giants fan.
Yeah, Jake, I appreciate that comment, but again, this is not a game of ping pong where you just face Brady or Rodgers. That's not how it goes. It's a team game. It's always going to be a team game. So no matter how you paint it, Jake, come out of this.
So he knew you were going to respond. He said, I'm sure Johnny thinks Mahomes will be future GOAT still. Can't wait to hear this podcast or live stream. LOL. We always be disagreeing.
Well, you know each other well, so.
Well, you predicted it pretty well. He still thinks Mahomes is the GOAT.
James Watson Jr. If the receivers don't let the ball bounce off their face mask, it's a whole different ball game. Mahomes is the only one who showed up for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, what happened with these receivers?
I agree. We're not talking about that a lot. We're not talking about that as much as we probably should, because the O-line sucked. Mahomes was running around. But if they had caught the ones that literally bounced off their hands and faces, even Kelce had a couple of drops, it'd be a much different game.
Imagine if there was one, Tyreek got hit in the face in the end zone, Darrell Williams got hit in the face in the end zone, and Byron Pringle almost caught that one that was at the pylon.
Yeah, that's the one.
Two of them could have made the catch. What if 2 of them made the catch?
Right.
That's 15 points. This is a 1-score game.
The Pringle one, to be fair, would have been an amazing catch. But you're right. You're talking about Hill. You're talking about Kelce. Like, your boys, the top receivers aren't catching. So if they had caught some of them, we should talk about that more. Yeah.
Yeah, that Pringle and that Hill play. I mean, those plays were going really fast, right?
It's easy to judge these guys.
Yeah. So I mean, yes, if they caught it would have completely changed the game. That Kelce drop though, wasn't he like wide open on that? That was a really bad drop.
Right there.
Yeah. You could see Andy Reid look at him. Andy Reid was like, "Really, Super Bowl, man?"
You can even see Kelce is like, "Man, I should have had that one."
But I'm surprised you mentioned it. Somebody mentioned it earlier, but they had the whole 2 weeks to prepare without an offensive line.
Yeah.
Not once did I see a tight end or a fullback in there to chip somebody or help. Not once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, no
I don't
screen
understand.
passes, no,
They started doing those delayed runs in the beginning of the second half, and they worked so well. They were gaining first downs like crazy. Why weren't they doing that in the beginning? I don't understand.
And it goes,
Yeah.
it's like, it kind of makes you think if Andy Reid regrets his draft choice last year. Don't get me wrong, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is great, but you had Damian Williams and you won a Super Bowl. And you have Le'Veon Bell, you have Darrell Williams. Like, this offense doesn't need a star running back. Any running back could really play in that system. Kareem Hunt had a great year. Damian Williams had a great year. So why draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Why didn't you draft another offensive lineman, start to get depth there, or a defensive player? If you could have got a linebacker or something, but he's like, oh, let me get my fifth string running back. Maybe he regrets that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think Clyde, he played most of the game as running back for the Chiefs, right? I don't know, maybe he can't catch that well or something. But why didn't they do more slow screen passes or something to him?
I know.
I don't understand.
Well,
maybe there's something like a hidden secret where he's not that really good of a catcher, or he's slow. I don't know.
Well, I think he is. He was probably one of the top. Yeah, I've said this, but I think he was one of the brighter spots of that offense. And that's not, Mahomes first, but yeah, I don't know. I think he is a good receiver. It's just some of those screens are under that much pressure that quickly, you can't get it off. You saw the one where he tried to hit it out to, I think, might have been Kelsey, but it got batted down. It's like they were trying to do screens early on, but without that strong run game, they didn't stick to it, so it ended up hurting them.
Yeah. That was from James Watson Jr. I don't know if I said that. AMI 294. Nothing got Mahomes, but I think the Bills are gonna take over next year. See, I told you the Bills could possibly take over. Jonathan, don't look at me like that. It's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. Who else?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to be honest, I guess you could say it's possible. I mean, the Bucks exposed the Chiefs big time, so you can guarantee every team is going to be looking at that film and saying,
That's
what to do.
what I was gonna. That's one thing I wanted to ask. How much do you guys think that's gonna hurt the Chiefs next year? Now that everybody knows how to play the Chiefs, yeah, they didn't have their offensive line and people missed catches, but they were really able to slow them down a lot.
I don't know. I mean, no one really has the personnel on defense in the AFC besides Colts and Ravens. Maybe the Bills defense is very good, but for some reason they just don't know how to cover Kelsey. They don't know how to cover Hill. I don't know what's going on with them. But the Ravens did it. They held them to a good amount of points. So they'll definitely be looking at that film. And the Colts should have freaking won. Should have won.
The comments on that TikTok of yours were like,
I'm still getting comments on that saying this aged well. I'm I know, I get it.
But you got the big one, right? So
I got the
like you said.
Yeah, I think the secret is double teaming Hill, protecting the deep, and then I guess putting one guy on Kelsey or something.
Dude, they always had 3 safeties in back every play.
They had safeties very deep. Very deep with the Bucks.
They were sending Tyreek on posts, and I didn't see Tyreek just go on a post and stop, do a 30-yard curl. He just kept going, and okay.
And that's the thing. Mahomes has to wait for that to develop for him to get open. He doesn't have that time.
Yeah.
Those screen passes, they should have worked into the offense.
When you're under that much pressure, though, it's very hard to. There are plays you can get around with it, but the way that offensive line was playing overall, I mean, it really, we talk about it. And the receivers not catching the ones, so that when Mahomes does pull off some magic and they're not catching, what can you do as a coach? You know what I mean? It's tough.
Mm-hmm. Colin Stewart 11. I've been watching since episode 19. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
Thanks,
I think Mahomes played great and his team sucked. Cheetah had his head in the clouds. Hang on, there's more. His O-line, they sucked. Was not Mahomes' fault. Tom remembered who Gronk was. Bucks D was elite, and playoff Lenny played great. So, okay. Yes, Cheetah,
It's a lot to unpack there.
yeah, his head was in the clouds. All the receivers have it in the clouds. They were all absolutely,
Yeah, they
I don't
should have
even
been
know how to
catching more.
explain it. They just couldn't play well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think
Gronk showed up.
Yeah, I mean, the consensus here, from what I'm seeing, we still got a couple more, but the consensus is that Patrick Mahomes played amazing and his team just couldn't back it up. That's the consensus from a Chiefs perspective. And that's kind of what we talked about just now. Like Mahomes tried everything he could.
Yeah, like under the circumstances, he played well. Like statistically, was it his best game? Like, no, it's probably a bad game, but under the circumstances, it's like he really tried his best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting how you said the votes were 63% no, but it seems like most of the comments are saying that Mahomes can't be, discussed in the GOAT debate,
Yeah.
which is
I mean, it's for for our audience to decide. Yeah.
And I know some receivers like they dropped some passes, obviously, but overall, I think it was tough to get open against this Bucks defense. I think they were putting more people in coverage and putting less people on the line, and
Yeah.
they didn't need to put much people on the line because
They
Chiefs
didn't
line
need
sucks
to.
anyway.
Yeah, with 4 rushers, they were getting pressure, and
Yeah.
with that much pressure, you don't have much time for play to develop, so you can't do any complex pass plays. And let alone that, I think they have a young, quote unquote Legion of Boom in the Bucks defense there, so you can't get open in those like 2 seconds you have. So yeah, I agree.
Eli Cope 0. I don't think it hurts Patrick Mahomes' legacy unless you are looking at purely stats. He played amazing, but his whole team surrounding him did nothing. So he doesn't think that it will hurt Patrick Mahomes' legacy unless you look at the stats. But it's tough to say, right? Because even though his stats were terrible, everyone who watched the game knew he played great, knew he tried. But even with that, being said, again, like I said before, the narrative going in was Brady versus Mahomes. Coming out of this Super Bowl, Brady beat Mahomes. That is like the storyline. That's it. That is what's going to come out of this. So it's much more than just looking at the stats. It's looking at the rings and also looking at the head-to-heads in the playoffs. Tom Brady's won every time. And we know that Tom Brady in the playoffs is a totally different beast compared to regular season. And we saw that on display against the Saints. Saints crushed them twice, going to the friggin' playoffs. Tom Brady just absolutely owns them like a little kid. Max Muse 12. Brady, the GOAT of all time. But last night showed how good Mahomes is. He'll be the most skilled of all time. I mean, he ran for 500 yards, LOL.
Yeah, I'm running around like physical, like just back and forth. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, I mean,
do
he's
that.
going to be the face of the NFL too. Like 'cause Brady's not going to be there forever. I think he'll be with us for a long time, but at some point,
I wouldn't count it out.
yeah, I think the way he's playing, he's got a few years left, and his style of play too allowed him. I was reading an article that around the time Brady started playing, rules started to better protect quarterbacks, and not only that, but his style of play just doesn't need him to run around as much. So you see these young guys who need to be kind of dual threats. We might see Brady, not but kind of see him outlast Jared Goff for now. So it's crazy, but might be the future. Still.
Yeah. And then just one more for us to kind of talk about as we wrap up the podcast. Kyle the Fridge. Should the Buccaneers go into free agency re-signing players or try to bring in new people? So I don't know specifics on each player's contract, but I think he's probably talking about Jason Pierre-Paul, Ndama Kungsu,
Fournette's a free agent, I think.
Fournette. There's a lot of players. What do you guys think as far as trying to keep this team together or seeing what you can do in free agency?
I think you got to try to keep the team together as much as you can. I know I saw something that Mike Evans was telling Bruce Arians, like, you could take my money, like, just keep this team together.
That's amazing.
And he's pretty unselfish. So I think, you buy into this team and I think there's going to be a couple guys that leave, but you got to do everything you can to keep this core guys group, together.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, that's really cool. If you said that, that's awesome. Because it's like I'm saying, there was something. I think it was Joe Montana who was Brady's like idol growing up as a quarterback. He just loved watching him. I think it was Joe Montana. But he talks about like the moment he retired in the game of football. The moment you retire, you don't play again. And said he regretted retiring with a year left on. I mean, he was older, and by that standards in the '90s. But he was saying that in football, it's like you don't play pickup anymore with your friends. Like once you retire professionally, like you just never play the sport again. So and I know it's business. It is a business. I know it's professional, but it is on some level. You think about how you want to leave a legacy, and I think that kind of mindset that Evans has, I think is going to be huge. If I'm answering the question is who? Who am I trying to re-sign? And I think if you look at the formula, it works. Whatever you do, keep a good old line for Brady, and he'll elevate any offensive weapon. So keep that D line. If it's Sue and the Pierre-Paul, keep them. If it works, don't. Fournette was great, but I don't think you should break the bank just trying to keep a superstar. It's clear that Brady has a pattern of elevating even minor characters to becoming star players. So I think that's the key. If you see it works, do that. But keep that O line, keep that D line, because you need those two if you're gonna have any more success.
Mm-hmm.
In order for Brady to be back in the Super Bowl, then you need the absolute best players on defense, on offense, offensive line, everybody. We saw it happen with the Patriots that last year, right? People thought the last couple of years actually, people thought Tom Brady fell off. No, he needs the best players around him. I guess everybody needs the best players around him. But so yeah, in terms of re-signing, they have a great team this year. I mean, I'll just stick to the people they know and just re-sign them. Seems like a great unit. Honestly, the Chiefs, if they meet the same unit next season, then it's gonna be tough to stop them because I mean, there's no answer. There's no
It might
answer.
just be better too, because I saw a quote from Arian saying about Gronk, who joined the team kind of recently, and he was saying like it's possible Gronk doesn't know everyone's name on the team, and that's just from this article quoting Arians. I don't know if he was joking or not, but it's like if anything, if they keep those guys, the chemistry in a year of COVID they might have better chemistry next year, and who knows what they'll do.
Yeah, I think it's keeping like those glue guys. Like Tom's favorite target seemed like in this playoff was Scotty Miller. He didn't use him too much in the Super Bowl, but like guys like that, Gronk obviously may not be in his prime. Got two touchdowns in the Super Bowl, but not in his prime. But it does help Brady, mentally, and just to have him on the field. They kind of know each other's, whatever. So I think it's good to keep those guys around. Jason Pierre-Paul,
Brown,
a veteran. Antonio Brown, you know what? I wouldn't. He can leave.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't.
It's crazy to think he has a ring now. I mean, he deserves it. He didn't score a touchdown.
All right. Well, okay. So that reminds me. There's like two things. LaShawn McCoy is on the Bucks. Did anyone else not know this? He was on the Chiefs last year, won a Super Bowl. Now he's on the Bucks this year. He won a Super Bowl, didn't play a snap, and he's got 2 rings.
No, but he's a great running back, though. He's with the. I love McCoy.
He is a legend.
Get your rings. It counts. It's not like, hey, every player on that team has a role.
It is like a good way to go out. Like you play
honest.
Great career with the Eagles and with the Bills, and then you go to the Chiefs, ring. All right, I'm out of here. No one can talk to me because I have a ring and I have like a rushing championship.
Yeah. That's really crazy to think. Yeah, it's who would have thought Gronkowski, Brady, Brown, and McCoy all would have been on the Bucks and won against the Mahomes team, like a Chiefs team. Like that's like
so random.
That's a team you make on Madden,
It is.
just to mess around. But hey, Brown was able, and Brown had a lot of troubles off the field, so in a way, he seems to have adjusted better at it. He played well, so you hope that any of his off-field troubles are healthily dealt with, in a just way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other comments on the Super Bowl? That basically wraps it up. We went pretty long as always.
Yeah.
But no worries. We got as many comments as we could.
Last one of the season, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's why superstars like super teams like LeBron and all these guys. Because no matter what, people would judge you on the rings, right? Like you guys are doing. People don't realize that you have all these superstars on your team, which can make a complete difference. In terms of Tom Brady's case, it did, but people don't care about that. They just care about the rings.
Yep.
So it's just interesting,
Yeah. We'll be talking about Tom Brady a lot this offseason. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's all we got on the Super Bowl. As you guys have heard us talking, this is our last podcast for about 2-3 weeks. We're just going to take a little break, kind of take a step back from this crazy season. The season's finally over. We had a lot. We gained nearly 11,000 followers on TikTok, 500 on Instagram. I think we're at 450 on YouTube.
Crazy.
It was a crazy season. It felt really fast. The season went fast for us, probably because we were doing so many posts, so many podcasts. But we do want to take the time to say thank you guys for rocking with us all this time. We definitely have a lot planned for the off season, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Follow on YouTube, obviously. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Instagram at Dorm Debate Podcast. We have a lot going on, so we're gonna take a step back for 2 to 3 weeks, get everything situated, and then we'll be back better than ever. Dorm Debate Podcast will be back. We're gonna have NFL
Next
draft
season.
stuff.
Yeah, next season starts.
Yeah, this is the most exciting time because there's so much hype. There's so much predictions that we can do. So this is the time to listen, follow on all our social medias. But yeah, anybody else wanna say a couple things?
I just want to say thank you to it's crazy to think that we did this starting out in our dorm room because we love the game, and to find an audience on the internet that loves the game the way we do and participates in our lives and comments on our things. I mean, we see it all, and it definitely adds a little motivation to us to sharpen our game, and also it's just an encouragement to find other people like us. So we hope we bring you value. And honestly, this season, as weird as it was, we're so thankful for you guys have found us. If you've been us a long time or discovered us this season, just thank you.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Thank you. It is crazy that we started this in the corner of Jared's dorm room.
Huddled around them.
Literal corner.
Yeah.
But we really do, like, every time somebody comments, every comment counts, and we read every single comment, and we love it. We love being like, oh, did you see this person's comment about this and stuff like that? So we love all these opinions, any edge to tell the other guy that they're wrong and we're right.
Yeah, guys.
It's been a fun season, and I'm excited for next.
Yeah,
I agree with what John and Caleb said. It's been a really fun season. I've enjoyed debating all you guys in the comments. And I look forward to doing that again in the future. But all I gotta say is, next year Cowboys win the Super Bowl. I look forward to debating that as well. But
I regret saying that. This offseason is gonna be awful.
Dak's coming back.
Super Bowl predictions.
Eagles.
Early Super Bowl predictions.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Wait, Jonathan, are you actually taking the Cowboys?
If Dak comes back, guys, we have really.
Oh God!
Really
you have no defense. There's zero defense.
Okay.
You literally have no defense.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Chiefs Bucks again, and I think the Chiefs will win.
Yeah. Jared, what's your? And then you should close it.
All right, so it's February 9th, 2021 at 10:36 p.m. and we're already predicting the next Super Bowl. It's gonna be Colts and Bucks in the final. I don't know who the Colts quarterback will be, but they will bring him to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you guys, the Colts are my Cardinals of this season.
All right.
I'm telling you, I gotta do a little bit more. I gotta do a little bit more research.
But you're already called.
That's a little teaser.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, is what we're gonna talk about in the coming off season. So again, thank you guys. Oh, thank you to everyone who joined the live. We had a lot of fun doing that. We want to do more lives in the future.
That was great.
But that was awesome. That was great to give gifts and stickers to everyone in the live. And everyone who came in, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for a great season.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we won't see you guys next week, but we will see you guys in the future. Make sure you follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Dorm Debate Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.